Hello guys, my name is Diego Pacheco and this is another slidecast. In this slidecast, I want to talk more about the book Shape Up. So this is the latest book by Basecamp, the former 37 Signals. And I want to share my thoughts about the book. I think it's a pretty interesting book. You guys might like it. So without further ado, let's really get started, right? Okay, Shape Up. So Basecamp, 30 Second Signals, they have like awesome books. I read all the books like Getting Real, Rework, Remote, and it doesn't have to be crazy at work. And now there is Shape Up. This is interesting because this book was written sort of in an online way. So it's not a PDF or a book you buy for Kindle. It's online, so it's version. So it's cool because you can get a link to specific parts of the book, and it's quite interesting. This one, it's how they do products, how they approach product discovery. And they process, although they do not talk much in these terms, it is a dual track agile process. So basically, they have a 6 week discovery process where they have all these metaphors about shaping something to give form and to get something from abstract to concrete. So as you see on the picture on the left, we start with lots of questions and doubts. You really don't know what's going on, and then at the end, you start to really get concrete things, and you can have progress in different parts, and that's how you roll. Basically, they work in two tracks, right? The discovery and delivery track. So they call it in cycle or out of the cycle. So basically, in cycle is when they're building and doing development, and out of cycle is when they are shaping. So they have these 6 weeks where they are doing shaping or building, and there is 2 weeks where there is a betting table going on, which I'm gonna talk more later on, or there is a cooldown. And during this cooldown, they can fix bugs, do some other things, and it's a interesting period. This cooldown period, quite cool. But these ideas are not like completely new. If you are following dual track agile, is really on that sense. But they have some unique things which are pretty cool, which I'm gonna comment in a moment, right? So how this shaping works, right? So basically, the whole idea it's about having the scope, but working from a high abstract level to a concrete level. But they sort of want to be in between. They don't want to be super like prescriptive. They want to have still space for some changes. And basically, to do that, they first set boundaries. Try to box things, and they try to grasp the raw elements of the solution. They try to address risks and rabbit holes, and that's very interesting way to keep and manage complexity down. And they write a pitch. So this is almost like a lean startup process where you have this idea and you pitch it, and if your pitch was selected, then it's developed. So it's almost like you are working on a hackathon or on a startup weekend all the time. So it's pretty interesting. So they have this metaphor about breadboarding, where in engineering or electronics, you sort of have the basics working, but you do not have like the final industrial design. And they have this sort of diagrams here where they write the flow in this very simple way. So here you can kind of see like a page flow between invoice, paying the invoice, and confirmation. And just by writing down what happens, they kind of start shaping that flow and figuring out. So it's a very, very raw form of prototyping, but pretty cool. And from that, they start to getting some sketches, very basic sketchings, and then they go from sketches to functionality. On the book, they talk about this calendar use case where basically they didn't want to implement a full calendar because an agenda is something complicated. You're gonna have conflicts. It's also a complicated widget to build. So they figure out this solution where they have sort of a calendar, but then the events are down on the calendar and they have like these blue dots showing that you have an event on that day. So they managed to reduce the complexity and also have some cool design at the same time. So this whole process is very interesting. Is a way to manage the complexity down, and this is all based on appetite, which we're gonna talk more later on. So one thing they want to do is to avoid scope creeps, and they really want to avoid things going on and on and on. So they want to get things done, and in order to do that, they try to be on the sweetest spot of 6 weeks. For them, 6 weeks is the sweetest spot. We know for other agile methods, it could be 1 week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, but for them, it's 6 weeks. And what they see is like if it goes beyond 6 weeks, they see more chances to have delays and following rabbit holes and not have value at all. So it's really they try to manage the complexity from several ways by having these time boxes of 6 weeks, by not really focusing on bugs on that time, having these sketches and trying to do something simple but yet effective. So it's really about managing complexity down. So once they work on this shaping, they also have something interesting, which is they do not have backlogs, so they do pitches, all right? And this is really like a lean startup like event where they lay down the problem, they talk about their appetite, how much that is important for the business, or how much they want to invest, how much complexity they are willing to pay for. Then they describe the solution, they describe possible rabbit holes, and that's cool. It's like a cool way to talk about risks, because rabbit holes are risks, right? And they're talking about things that we could be pursuing, and as engineer trying to as the engineers trying to look for perfections and go over and over and over. So this is like good callouts here, and also they have no goals, which is, in other words, just saying out of scope, right? What they should not do. And then they do these pitches, and the best pitches are selected. So that's pretty cool. So like I said, they don't have backlogs. They don't even write down backlogs, and they keep saying, and they said that in other books, like the good ideas, they keep coming back, all right? So that's what they expect. So after the pitch, they have this betting table. So they need to pick between pitches which ones they're gonna build, right? And basically they don't want to have many options. They want to just have few options. They want to list a few pitches. They need to pick which ones they want to bet. They want to have decentralized ideas. That's why they don't have like this backlogs. Like I was saying, like the good ideas come back. Bets are commitment, so they want to commit on that bet, meaning they don't want to change their mind during that cycle, so they want to go for the 6 weeks. And that's a way for them to have commitment, sense of uninterrupted time. So they want to avoid distractions, and that's a cool way to get things done, so you can focus during that period of time. How they deal with bugs, they have some strategies, like they use cooldown. So if you remember, was 6 weeks and 2 weeks. So during that 2 weeks, they could use the cooldown to fix the bugs. They could also, if there's too many bugs or the bug is too important, it could be bringing to the betting table. So when you are deciding between the pitch, that could be a bug and a pitch, and you could pick between those. Or they do like bugatowns, or they call it like bug smashes, where there's a period of the year where they batch some bugs and they nail together to sit there and just fix that bugs. One thing they talk about is to have progress on the whole stack. So you can do a bunch of things on the front end and nothing on the back end, and then you might not have anything fully working. You also might have the opposite, work in the front end and the back end, but in different parts and they're not connected, so nothing works. And what they try to do is to move the whole stack together, so everything is working and you do have progress. So during the shaping, what they try to do is to sort of discover what the scope means. And they do with this sort of a potato diagrams where they start to writing down parts of the functionality or parts of that shape, what it means. And then they sort of have checklists for each part. Of course, there are scenarios where they got layer cakes where the effort to build backend and front end are sort of similar, and that's fine. Sometimes they got icebergs and reverse icebergs. Like the front end is very small, but the back end is too big or too complex, or the other way around. The back end is simple, but the front end is really complex, and that's something you need to mind to be able to handle it. And I think this is one of the coolest things they have. It is about not doing much planning or estimations, right? So I can see lots of no estimates ideas here, and they try to do a mindset shift. So instead of saying when something is done, they say when something is known. So basically, they have this idea of unknown and known. So instead of saying when something gonna be done, they say, okay, when I'm gonna know something, meaning I have a shape here. I don't know how this shape looks like. So of course, I cannot say when it's gonna be done, right? But I can tell you how much when I'm gonna know what I want, or when I'm gonna know what needs to be built, right? And they use these downhill charts, and they can be moving like week to week or day by day, and that can tell progress where they are. One example they give on the book is like here on known, let's say you want to make dinner, right? And then you're gonna start cooking. And then the question is here, can I start cooking here? No, I don't know what you're gonna eat. Or okay, then you figure out I want something with potatoes, and I want to drink wine, and I want to have octopus. Oh, okay, so it's a Portuguese dish. Then I'm here. Okay, now I know what you want. Let me get the ingredients. I get the ingredients. I have everything I need. Okay, now I can start cooking, right? So this chart is a very XP way, like if you think about XP in big visible charts, to to stop thinking about deadlines or thinking about deliverables and thinking about understanding, when you have understanding, when you don't have understanding. So I think this is pretty awesome. And they kind of mix all together, like this potato likes they call shapes, and then you have like parts of the solutions on the shape, and each part you can get a different color, and they can be in different parts of the downhill unknown and known, right? So let's say there are parts that you know and there's one part you don't know. So this is not binary or nothing, it can be more granular. So it's really the downhill discover charts are really nice. There is something else. They give some guidance when to stop, because you could be burning like the 6 weeks and then you're not done, or then you want to do more, right? And then they have this guidance when to cut, right? So you make the scope cuts by comparing down to the baseline instead of the perfect ideal, and they basically see how much they are away from the baseline, and this gives them a more solid way to cut things. And finally here, there is some simple comparison between Scrum and ShapeUp. So Scrum, you can have sprints usually from 1 to 4 weeks. People often do 2 weeks, but here is written 2, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4 actually. In ShapeUp is cycles of 2 and 6, so is 8 weeks cycles, so 2 month cycles, and 6 weeks either development or shaping, both happening parallel, and 2 weeks of cooldown. In Scrum, there is estimations, there is planning poker, so you have like the Fibonacci sequence in story points. In ShapeUp, there's no estimates. Basically, you have 2 weeks in order to cool down, and 6 weeks in order to do something, either shape or deliver, depending on which track you are. And that's all you got. and based on the pitches and the betting table, you pick what you do, and then you need to wait the next cycle to do it again. So it's more like about filling capacity, and they try to handle that down with a few bets at the same time. Um, in Scrum and XP, they often work with user stories. As a user, want that because of this benefit, or there are other formats like jobs to be done. And in ShapeUp, they work with the pitch, right? So it's more like a lean startup pitch, and that pitch get selected or not. So it's interesting. In Scrum, you're gonna have backlogs. In ShapeUp, there's no backlogs. So that's it. I hope you guys like it. It's an interesting discover process on the line of a two-track agile. So that's it for this slidecast. See you guys next time. Take care. Cheers.